I always tell people that in the branding process, spend time thinking about your values and identifying them, because once you do that, you're going to attract the right clients, you're going to attract the right partners, team members. And when things aren't off, I feel like the values is probably the most helpful metric to make decisions.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's show. Very excited for today's guest because we met in person and she came up and said, I'd love to be on your podcast. So when anyone I meet wants to be on our podcast, they're going to be here. So very excited to talk with Rachel Knutton from Alluvia Studios. If I might pronounce that wrong, but you can correct it when you do your intro. But Rachel, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and kind of about your studio a little bit?
Sure. Well, it's Rachel Knutton.
Okay,
And
there
when
we go.
I explain how to remember it,
I
you'll
know.
figure out how old I am when I tell you that. I tell people it's like nut and honey. So if you remember the old nut and honey commercials, then you're probably in the same demographic as me. And if not, then you're blessed to be younger. So I have an agency that we're outside of the Nashville area, pretty far outside actually. We're an hour and 15 minutes, so we're not part of the metro area. We're in our own micropolitan called Cookeville, Tennessee, and it's fairly rural, a little bit of a hallmark kind of area. We love it, and I have 16 people on our team, all here in the area except one who's in Charleston. And we focus on MedTech marketing. That's our very specific area of focus in our industry. Well, I didn't choose it. The path was chosen for me. No, actually, I started working for HCA Healthcare, which is a really large healthcare system, hospital system back in the 90s, and then transitioned over into medical devices in 2006, I think. And I have just stayed in the industry. And so my background is kind of starting in the hospital world, then going into medical devices and launching devices, and then go selling the devices. And now I have an agency that helps other companies do that. So it's a full circle moment for sure. And gosh, I mean, it's a great industry to be in. I feel very blessed to be in an industry that has such a lasting impact on what we do for patients. And yeah, so that's how I ended up here.
So it sounds like you know the industry really well since you've
Yeah.
obviously sold it and you've worked in it for a long time. And so why don't you talk a little bit about how that helps you market to those companies?
Yeah, because so our industry is, highly regulated. It's very complex. So the way that our products are delivered, medical device products are delivered in the system is fairly complex. We have regulatory issues, we have reimbursement, payer issues. And so when we're working on projects for our clients, having an understanding of what it's like to sell a medical device within the hospital system. I was on the C-suite within a hospital, so I know the conversations of what matters to hospital administrators. I spent time in the OR, so when they're selling to physicians, I kind of know what that environment's like. So I think it just gives me a well-rounded perspective. And they always say, in marketing is to show empathy for your customer, right? And I have that, right? I've
Yeah.
had to deal with the challenges that they've experienced. So I think that is something that adds a lot of value to the work that we do. And it's sort of baked in to every project that we work on.
So I guess a lot of that probably comes back to like thought leadership as well, is that when you go in and talk to any company, they know that you understand the challenges, you understand what makes them successful. And so what ways are you promoting that thought leadership other than just getting in the room and talking to them?
Really, I'm involved in industry events. So I put my eggs into a key industry event called LSI, which is Life Science Intelligence. And it is an event that happens 3 times a year in US, Asia, and Europe. And it convenes medical device startup companies that are looking for investment or acquisition. It brings in investors that are looking to invest in that space. And then it brings in what we call strategics, which are really large corporations interested in potentially acquiring those devices as they develop and commercialize. And those are all our clients. And so that has been probably the most effective way for me to just really be involved on the industry side, being there in person, playing the long game, so that people know me, they know my face, they trust me. I have opportunities, speaking opportunities and panel opportunities, sponsorship opportunities I do with that. And I mean, that has been really huge. It's because our industry is so small, it's the most effective way to do that, for sure.
Plus, you probably get 3 pretty cool trips a year as you go to those 3
Yeah.
locations.
Yeah. I just got back from Singapore 3 days ago.
Oh, wow.
I'm still suffering with a little bit of jet lag, but yeah, it has taken me around the world, and I don't do much travel for my like for client work. It's all remote
Yeah.
these days, so it also helps me get out and just see people face to face.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what is your strategy at these events? Like, I know obviously you saw me at an event doing something similar, and I think we take a kind of a shotgun approach where we do different things at every event just based on how we're feeling that year. And so I'm
Yeah.
curious, like, how many of the events do you speak at versus just having a booth at versus just attending as a, hey, I'm going to go listen to the speakers type event?
Yeah, so the BABA Summit is the one that I call like the no stress opportunity for me. That is 100% for me as an agency owner. I get to pour into myself. I get to learn. I don't have to show off. I don't need to
Right.
impress anybody. It's like just me time. The other events that I go to, I am there to represent the company,
Right.
and I really look at four things. One is it's always a learning opportunity. So that's a way that I stay fresh. So even though I have a booth at all of the events, I usually sponsor all of them. Um, I'm never at my booth, which is bad marketing, but it's because I'm in the session. Yeah, I'm in the sessions. People are like, "Come by to see." I'm like, "I promise, I'm just not at my booth." I even have a little sign that's like, "Message me." I'm wandering around, and so I want to learn what my clients are learning, so that then I can advise them and stay up to date on the latest trends in the industry. And then building those long-term relationships. Some of my most fruitful relationships are not actually with um the startup companies that are there, because I may not quite be ready for like a branding or full
Right.
marketing support yet. But investors and other partners who are service delivery partners, I've built really strong networks with them. So that when they have a client that needs assistance, they're providing those referrals. So just building those relationships, having fun. I always look at it as a me time thing.
Yeah.
I always then present also as part of my activity there, and those companies that I work with, they provide our as a sponsor, they provide me with great media. So there's video, there's photography, social, and so that's a great marketing asset for me that comes out of the sponsorship. And then finally, business development.
Yeah.
So like an actual lead, if I get a couple projects out of it, it's worth my time. And I may not see a lead from that for another year just because of the long game that I'm in.
Yeah. That's great. I love that strategy. I love what you said early on. I do the same thing. So usually we bring 2 or 3 people, and so we make sure one person's at the booth during the breaks. But in between sessions, it's pointless to be at the booth because you're sitting there playing on your phone or trying to get work done. And so yeah, I think attending the sessions is one of the best things you can do, because not only you get there a little early and you're sitting there talking to someone, and then you listen and you learn what your clients are learning or your potential customers are learning. And then at the end, like, you have those conversations with the person next to you and about what you just learned. And it really does help you create that. And I think that the learning is the most important parts of these sessions, which is why we try to send multiple people. It's not always like just me going to every event. We send our CFOs, we send our controllers, because I remember the first event I went to, I walked away, I was like, that's like an MBA in what we do in 3 days. And like, I just learned so much about what we do. I'm going to be so much better serving clients, because at the time I was a CFO. And then I've always encouraged our team members to get out to these events, even though it takes them away from their clients. They have to take a couple of days off, but it really is the learning. And it's really hard for me to go to an event for 3 days and take enough notes to get that learning back to them. Or if they're actually there listening, it's so much better.
Yeah, no, you have to do that. In fact, I took 2 other team members to our most recent one that was in the US, but we still weren't at the booth because I
Agreed.
wanted
Yeah.
them to go to sessions. I wanted them to be, and part of this particular event that I participated in are 9-minute Shark Tank style pitches that
Oh,
go
that's
on.
cool. That's
And
really
so we
cool.
sit in on as many of those as we can. Half of our business is actually doing presentations. So we do branding and content development, but we have a
Yeah.
secret sauce that I think is pretty unique in the agency world that we really know our way around a PowerPoint. And we deal with a lot of complex data. So it's not like some tech, where you have some like really cool PowerPoints with forwards and cool graphics. We try to have some of that, but we have to convey a lot of information as
Yeah.
simply as possible. And that's a unique skill that we have. So we like to go in and see what people are presenting, what works. It builds
Agreed.
business opportunities because
Yeah.
like, hey, it looks like you could probably use some help with.
For sure.
And when someone's raised money based on their pitch deck, then they're now a marketing client for us. So we're like here for the journey. Like today it might be a very small project, and then in a year and a half, we might build a retainer with them and grow their brand, build their brands, and support them across the board.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about going to marketing events is most marketers are really good at building presentations. And so I get to see some really cool presentations. And I would say because that's part of my job is building our presentations when we do speak at events. And so our presentations have probably gone from like a 2 or a 3 to like an 8 or a 9, just from watching all these marketers present. And like, oh, okay, that's how you do it. That's how the presentation should look. And so, yeah, I'm sure that's a superpower for you guys to go watch in a tech industry, just like you probably would at an accounting event. You'd watch an accounting event, you'd watch the speakers, and you're like, oh my God, these are probably the boringest presentations I've ever seen. That's why I don't go to a ton of accounting events.
On accounting of pitch.
I don't go to them either anymore. Like some of my like Jody and some of our bosses give me a hard time. Like, you should be going to those. I'm like, I can't. I've been to too many marketing events where there's great speakers. I can't sit there and listen to a bunch of accountants talk for
Yeah.
3
But I
days.
mean, thank God for those people, right? Thank God
Yeah,
for the people that do that because we need them.
yeah, definitely we do. Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Of
So
course. Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about your kind of your operating principles. I know you mentioned this when we met, and like you think you have a really good process in place that our listeners can learn from. So I'd love to learn like what started that and kind of how you've evolved in that area.
So I'm the typical accidental agency owner, started doing consulting work and then got more than I could handle and started hiring people to help me do it. Right. And I have met people who have been really great at architecting a successful agency from a financial perspective. And I have not done that. So I am very service oriented. And so like even the growth is just, I had too many people who wanted me to help and I couldn't help them. So I needed to hire other people so we could do that. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Yeah.
and it is intentional in its own way in that, I need to do that to feel like I have value and I'm adding value. And so like my mission and my core values are really important to the way that we run the business. And so I always tell people that in the branding process is like spend time thinking about your values and identifying them, because once you do that, you're going to attract the right clients, you're going to attract the right partners, team members. And when things aren't off, I feel like the values is probably the most helpful metric to make decisions.
Yeah.
And everybody's is a little bit different, right? But like, I'll give you an example. Joy is one of our core values. And we have a kind of that work hard, play hard attitude. We want to have fun when things get stressful. Like I need people on the team when things get stressful. Like we buckle down, but we laugh about it, right?
Yep.
Cry and laugh maybe at the same time. And the same with the clients. Like we have we call it the cool client matrix, right? And on the x-axis,
I love it.
The x-axis is, do we want you at our barbecue? And the y is, how much money do you have? And, so there's some sweet spots there. It's like, okay, maybe you don't have a lot of money, but you're really fun to work with. Fine. That's great. Right. If you don't have any money and you're not fun to work with, like it's probably a no-go. So I would say like that has actually come across in the clients that recommend us and choose to work with us. And like when I've asked for testimonial, um, I've had people say like, and it was fun to work with them. And I just feel like we spend so much time working that we should have some fun while we're doing it. Even in a really serious business that we're in, which is about saving lives and complications and dealing with like really, really tricky stuff, we can treat that topic with honor and professionalism, but our approach to doing the work can be fun. So I think that's just attracted like the right team members, that's attracted the right clients. And then we even include that in our evaluation process here internally is very driven by behaviors. And that's a little bit different, right? Like we don't
Yeah.
have really strong KPIs. Our KPIs are like, how does it feel? Are you like getting along? How's your teamwork? Are you having fun while you're here? We've had a couple of people that have worked here that it didn't work out because they didn't want to have fun while they were working. It wasn't their thing. And I was like, well, this isn't a good fit for you, you
Yeah.
know?
I love that because what you're doing is in every important area of the business, you're leaning into those core values. And so it just makes decision making easier. So when it's choosing a client, whether it's hiring an employee, whether it's making a business change, you can lean into those core values. So you talked about joy. Give me a direct example other than joy when you've had to make a decision and like how you lead into the core values.
Like with a different value.
A different value. Yeah, don't use joy again. I want to hear a different one. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Um, so continuous improvement is another one.
Okay.
And, we have all different types of people in the world. Like some people like change. Some people wake up every morning thinking, what am I going to change today? That's me. All right. Like that.
Right.
But I have people on my team that I need on my team that are the ones that don't want it to change. Like we need that balance. But what it does is I think internally that one really helps because sometimes it can be very stressful for people to need to approach something a new way. And we can point back to the value and say, this is a core value. We're here for the journey to support what it's going to take to make the change that needs to happen. AI is a perfect example, right? You have some that are jumping in and some that are like a little bit more reticent about it. As long as we're making the right steps in the right direction, that's in line with our values. If someone was like not doing that, like that's not going to work. That we're not going to keep someone on the team who's just not aligned that, hey, we can all do something a little bit better. And I try to lead from the top and learn all the time and admit when I'm wrong and and I mean, I'm a much better boss now than I was 7 years ago. I look at some of the things I did 7 years ago and it's like really cringy because I didn't know how to handle certain things. I try to be better.
Yeah, it's funny because I think you eventually find that thing that's going to make you a good leader. And for you, it is like living your core values and using that to make decisions. Because the biggest thing for leadership is consistency, right? And so like if you have a compass that you're judging your decisions off of, it gives you that consistency. And it's funny to hear you talk because you're so similar to where we are. So one of our core values is prior to joining Anders was humor. And it's one of the things we leaned into all the time. So it's similar to joy. So we just want to make sure people have a good personality, what they're doing, and they're fun to hang out with. Like that's one of the ways we would choose clients, and one of the ways we would choose team members is like if it kind of the barbecue thing. Like if I'm interviewing someone, I'm like I would not want to go to Vegas retreat with this person because they will bore the heck out of me. Then I'm not going to hire them, right? And then going back to the change, like especially in the accounting world, like there are so many people that are afraid of change, and that's not us. That's never been us, and we're always looking to change. And I think having that as one of your core values and thinking about it allows you to choose some clients that might not be profitable and they're going to be fun, but you're going to be able to like develop a new product. You're going to be able to like, this is a software we've always wanted to use. So we're going to work with them just because it's part of our change mentality. So again, I think that makes you a really strong leader is to have that compass that you're making your decisions based off of.
Yeah, and it's different than like innovation. So what some people might have innovation as a core value. And that's great too. We weren't the first out of the gate with AI. I met someone a year ago and he told me what he was doing with this agency and I was a little bit blown away.
Yeah.
So, for me, it's like, oh, what's the balance between bringing AI in to add value, but also still doing things with our talents the way that because this is the agency paradox that everyone's going through right now, right? It's like we have these creative talents and we have this great new tool, and it's like, okay, where is the right balance? But we're not going to be the leader in the latest innovation. We're going to listen to the customers. We're going to test it with our internal team, see what's working, and then improve in the process. And I put a lot of time and effort into every single week, our team meetings, we have education is part of that. We send people, we sent 5 people to the Creative Pro week last week here in Nashville to, hone their skills with all the Adobe tools. And I spent a lot of money and time on showing that that continuous improvement.
Yeah.
I'm the fun. Yeah.
Education is a huge part of it, right? Because especially when you're in any type of consulting business, right? You're only as good as the work you've done, the people you've met, and the books you've read, right? So all that eventually becomes who you are and what you know, right? So I can only have so many experiences, right? I can work for a year and I can work in 10 different clients and I can see a ton of things, and that gives me a ton of experiences. And then the people I know, I could pick your brain like I'm doing right now and learn about some of the stuff you're doing, which sounds really exciting. And I can add that to my repertoire a little bit. And then the last is just reading books. And we definitely emphasize with our team reading as much as possible, because you might read a book and be like, I only like the first chapter of that. I think that's some good ideas. The rest of the stuff didn't work for me. But that first chapter you've read gives you that voice that you can say, this might work for you. And then those last chapters that you didn't love, you might say, but I wouldn't go down this step. And so I think it's really trying to build your knowledge base, and that education is so important. It's such an important part of it.
I love that you brought up books, because actually we just completed this pet project of mine. I'm really excited about it because I was an English major. I love books. I love print. And I just had one of our team members come up with an online library and catalog system for all of the books that we have in the office, because I'd also loan them out and I didn't know who had what book. And
cool.
I had to walk around the desk to see who had it. And I'm so excited to have an Alluvia library where we can, I don't know if anyone's even used it yet, but for me,
that's awesome.
It's one of those intangible milestones that we recently completed. So
that's a ton of fun. So do you have just business books in there? Or do you have fun books in there as well?
There are some fun ones. I mean, it spans from books related to our industry specifically, as well as creative, copywriting, design, some, how-to books. I'm Christian. And so that's one of my core values too. So I don't use that as a marketing tool. That's just an operating principle. And so I have some books on the shelf that are about how to serve within the secular world, as a Christian, or, how to lead, how did Jesus lead, and things like that. So there's some in there that are a little bit on the software side, I guess, as well.
So have you ever done is your whole team virtual now?
No, everybody's here in the office.
Oh, you're in person. Oh, you're there in office. Okay.
Yeah, everybody's in the office except one.
So do you guys do book clubs then? Or how does that work? Do you have
tried it a little bit.
Book of the month, so.
I mean, I feel like the appetite for that is varies a little bit. We have a little bit of a younger team, so that are maybe quite ready to geek out as much. I feel like that's a progression, as you're maturing in your career. But we have done that. So we did Mark Schaefer's Audacious book. We read that together. And because after he spoke at BABA last year, and then we had everybody kind of segment out a key piece of it and think about how we could introduce those audacious ideas into the agency and carry that through some follow-up team meetings. And I think that was fun. I try to make it too intense, but that was a good one for sure.
Yeah, one of the things that we've really worked on is doing an asynchronous book club, where it's you can read any of these 10 books, but then use either a white paper to write about okay, let's ask one question about the book and have you write about your experiences that applies to that book. And so that way we have not only the book, but 6 or 7 or 8 white papers that people, when they read it, kind of apply their own experiences to it. So we've done that. And then the other thing that I'm starting to lean into now is using AI to take that book knowledge and give our team that same knowledge. And so one of the things we're working on is building a context library of our books. So not just the digital PDF, because it takes AI a long time to read a 250-page PDF, but if we have a really good summary of that book in there, we could use it to help our team get knowledge. So if they're asking a question to a wiki about how to work with a client, it could use like the 20 books that we recommend to kind of push them in the right direction of how to have that difficult conversation or how to
Oh,
consult the client properly. So that's one of the things we're working on right now is really
yeah,
taking that book
I'd love your
library.
book list.
Yeah,
Let's
I'll send it to you. I'll definitely will.
put that in the link.
Yeah, I will.
uh,
I'll send the link for sure. Yeah, we used to have it
uh,
on our old website. I'm not sure if we have the book list on our new website. I'll have to look for it.
yeah, no, I always love that. Like I just can't get enough books. I had 5 that I brought back from Bava. So
And how many did you read on your flight back from Singapore? How many
I've
books
already
did you
read.
read?
I read one of them while I was still at Bava, and
Okay.
then I did read one of them on my way to Singapore. So it
Okay.
was a digital marketing book that I got from there.
Awesome.
I'm curious about your white papers that you mentioned. Do you then share those externally as well, or are those only internal?
Yeah, they're more internal knowledge based stuff. So like I think what the learning point is so like let's say it's eMyth. eMyth's one that we love and we've talked about. It's honestly kind of the foundation of what we do and the fact that like, everybody can be a technician, but to be an owner is it's kind of the lesson that you've talked about a lot today. Is like it's definitely different being a owner, being a business owner than it is being a technician. And so that's that might be a book that someone reads. And then the question might be is okay, talk about one of your clients who's made a great transition from a technician to an owner and do the steps. So they basically just like answer that in a couple paragraphs and we have follow-up questions on there. So like those
Love.
same follow-up questions exist for you as they do for me, as they do for the third person. And so like that library exists. And then there's people that can go in and look at it and read it. And then also again, it's part of our AI too. So people can when they're asking questions to our wiki that's being referenced. So yeah, those do not go external. They kind of stay internal for our
Yeah.
team to again, what I talked about earlier, right? You're only as smart as the experiences you have. So if I can document some of your experiences, then I can gain that knowledge from you and that's I'm kind of combining two ones there. I'm taking the book and I'm taking your personal experiences to build that extra knowledge. So
Where do you put your wiki in? What do you like? Where do you keep it in?
so we have to have we've had it in OneNote. That's where it started, but from there it's built. And basically, what our wiki is now is we have a file structure that's using a context assistant inside of AI. So really, it's a wiki that's being referenced by our AI bot. So that way, I can just ask any question to the AI bot, and it can help me prepare for a client meeting. And it's using all of the files that we have saved, books we've read, and
Yeah.
has a lot of like web links too. Like if I watch a YouTube video and I'm like, oh, that's a really good TED talk, I'll take that, take the transcript, throw it into our wiki. So it's just constantly building up in terms of how the knowledge base people have.
Well, I can just see my team now because that's going to be my new pet project.
Oh, good. Oh, fun.
Really good idea. Like, I'm like, oh boy, here we go.
It's a lot of fun. I mean, it's what I've noticed is a wiki that is a true library is hardly used at all, right? Because it's too hard to find something. Like if
Yeah.
I'm looking for, I have a tough client conversation I have to have later today. I could look in 20 different places for help on that. And it's not going to really help me. Or like even more specific and more literal is like, okay, I have a client that needs a bank in Nashville. They need a new bank in Nashville. Like, yeah, where do I go to find that detail of someone, other clients who have bankers in Nashville that they like? That's just really hard for me to find and navigate. And so that's where I
Yeah.
think AI is going to really help is it can translate that data a lot quicker and it can give me the answer I want and find it. So
Yeah.
I think that AI is changing the world of wikis because we've had a wiki book for a long time and I don't think anyone ever looked at it. And now people are using
Yeah.
it all the time. So
Yeah. We built something like that in ClickUp. So that's our project management tool. We built that over time. But again, I think finding and extracting that data
yeah.
there is an AI feature in ClickUp, but right now we have it paid for every seat because it's a bit.
Yeah, it's a lot. We use ClickUp as well. So yeah, it's one of the tools we use. Awesome. Well, it's been a great conversation. I've loved hearing about all the stuff you do. And so the fun question, you mentioned you're an English major and you love books. And so I'm going to, a non-business, non-motivational book. What's the last good novel you've read?
I'm almost done with one called The Last Debutantes,
Okay.
and it's a historical fiction based on the season of debutantes right before World War II in London. And I think that's a great one. And then, oh gosh, my actually favorite one though that I would really recommend is I think it's called The House at the Edge of Night. And it is one of these like epic stories about an island in the Mediterranean, and it's fascinating.
Okay, interesting. I'm always looking. You have those friends on Facebook or Instagram that are always recommending books, and I'm always looking for those people because, like, especially when I'm driving, I'm like, I need a book to listen to, or I need a book to read when I'm flying, and so I'm always looking for good books. And my new genre right now is I love books that have like a sci-fi element to it, but you can't tell if it's true sci-fi or if it's like acts like like paranormal. Okay, it's a book
Oh,
about
sure. Yeah.
there could be ghosts, but then you find out at the end there's not, or sometimes like they are real, and so it's just kind of a fun book. And I just read The Sundown Motel, which had a similar story to that, and it was a really
Okay.
fun read that you can listen to and not get too invested in, but entertains me. So,
I mean, I only read like a fiction book about once a year
oh really?
and
Okay,
on vacation, because
yeah, it's
I love nonfiction, right? So I consume a lot of that kind of content. So if I go on vacation and I've read a book, when I went to Singapore, I had some days to do it, like that was a real vacation because I got
yeah,
to read
exactly.
something just for fun.
Yeah, it's usually for me listening. Like I coach basketball, and like this weekend I was coaching two teams, and the plays they're playing were like 45 minutes apart from each other. So I was like, I'm gonna spend a lot of time in the car. I better download a book to listen to. And it was really interesting. And of course, I'm not done by the time I get home. So I'm like sitting in the garage for 5 minutes, or when I come home, my wife's, what are you doing? So yeah.
I love that. I did that one time driving, and we were so into the story that we actually missed the exit and ended
Oh
up
no,
driving like the wrong way for a while. So
that's fun. Yeah, we've done that on road trips too with the kids. So we've had like a book to listen to, and yeah, everybody gets into it, and it's good
yeah,
conversations.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, again, I thought this was a great episode. It was fun talking to you, and obviously fun meeting you in Denver. But why don't you tell everybody where they can find you if they have questions and how they can get hold of you?
Sure. Yeah. So probably the best would just be on LinkedIn. So it's Rachel Knutton, Knutton. Also, our website is alluviastudio.com.
Great. Well, I'm sure some people are reaching out to you, and I'd love your
Yeah.
stories. So thanks for joining.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. This was fun.
Yeah, it was fun.